Do you know who Mas Oyama is? Well, I've done a couple of episodes on him in the past, and I found this movie that's kind of based on him. It's kind of wild, but it's also kind of based on some facts, I think. Anyway, I want to go through that with you.
Welcome to the Warrior Mindset Podcast. We are your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk.
All right, The Fighter in the Wind. So, this is a South Korean martial arts film from like 2004. It's based on the life story of Choi Bae-dal, otherwise known as Matsutatsu Oyama, who's the founder of Kyokushin Karate. Now, I've done a video episode on him. I've done an older audio episode on him, and they're one of the more popular things on this show. And I don't really know why, but I'm kind of infatuated with the guy's history, and so I'm always looking for things about him. And I found this movie. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. It's kind of amazing. It's not a great movie, but if you're interested in this stuff, it's pretty good. It's inspired by his journey, and it blends historical facts with some fantastical mythological things, as you would expect with a South Korean or a generally speaking, one of these genre martial arts movies, wire work and crazy martial arts and stuff like that. All right, it very much dramatizes his evolution into the legend, because the man himself is a real life legend. All right, so this movie, I want to talk about it because, again, I'm always interested in him, and I think a lot of the philosophy and the things he did really fits in with what we're talking about here at the Warrior Mindset. And I'm a fan, so there you go. All right, so you can go back and listen to those older episodes, but Mas Oyama is the founder of Kyokushin Karate. He did some amazing things for the martial arts in terms of making Kyokushin what it is. He was originally a student of karate, and he was Korean, traveled into Japan and studied. Again, I've got another episode with all this detailed backstory. I'm just kind of giving you a little brief history here. And then he eventually creates this style, which is known as one of the toughest styles for its fighting and it's feats of strength, and the man was also known for fighting bulls. And I know a lot of people have already made comments that it wasn't a bull or all this kind of stuff about how I'm wrong. Okay, that's great. I might be wrong. Tell me where you got your information, because I'd love to research it myself. Because I'm always in the search for truth and stuff around this guy. So the movie starts introducing Choi Bae-dal. I hope I'm getting that right. But anyway, he starts as a young Korean man with dreams of becoming an aviator in the Japanese Air Force during World War II, which those facts are, from what I've read, are true. Mas Oyama wanted to become a pilot. I'm not 100% if it was a kamikaze pilot or whatever, but he wanted to be a pilot for the Japanese Army during World War II. He faces discrimination and harsh treatment as a Korean living in Japan during World War II. There was a series of traumatic events in the movie, including the loss of his dreams and the humiliation of him being a Korean. And that kind of, according to the movie, is what kicks him off into his journey of self-discovery. After the war, he's disillusioned and angry. They show him having street fights and getting involved in gang conflicts and things, and he's just kind of a frustrated individual. That's been documented as well, that the man had issues, not necessarily gang violence stuff, but that he got in trouble. Pivotal moment in the movie when he witnesses the strength and discipline of traditional Japanese martial arts. Okay, there's a dude there that kind of shows him some stuff, and he decides at that point to train himself to become the strongest fighter, vowing to overcome any odds and stuff. Okay. He isolates himself in the mountains, trains rigorously, inspired by samurai values and martial arts philosophy that he's learned. He puts himself through grueling training, mental, physical conditioning, battling not only his limitations, but also the harsh elements at the same time, right? He's like in the snow and in the freezing water and stuff. There's a training montage, as most of these movies usually have, highlights all this kind of stuff, including climbing an ice mountain, and some other crazy things. It's pretty funny. He returns to society, and then he challenges and defeats other martial artists across Japan, including Yakuza, dojo owners, and samurai descendants and things. This is a whole series of battles, very much like Musashi. I was getting the name wrong. Very much like Musashi's stories, who's very famous in the folklore of Japan and stuff, which should do a whole episode on that. And I've got some other things related to him. You want to go look those up. The character in the movie, his feats of strength and courage earn him a nickname. They call him the Fighter in the Wind, which is where the title of the movie comes from. And despite all of his victories, he remains humble and focused on self-improvement. There's a lot of cool imagery and stuff of the character himself. The movie explores his struggle to find his place in the world and post-war Korea and Japan, and just in the world of martial arts in general. There's a lot of folded in story of like resilience, cultural identity, pursuit of greatness against overwhelming odds, a lot of like in like a movie like Rocky and stuff. There's a lot of themes like that. The film ends with him becoming the martial arts master that he needs to be, with a big dueling thing at the end. While it doesn't depict the full story of Kyokushin karate, it does leave you kind of inspired by his transformation and determination to kind of want to be a part of that. Okay, that's super quick. There are other reviews of this movie, but you get it. And I'm not going to just put in, the movie here. I'm going to put in shots of it so we don't get tagged on YouTube or whatever. Some key themes from the movie that I wrote down: perseverance and self-reliance, overcoming cultural and personal adversity, physical and mental demands of martial arts mastery, often sort of paralleling some of the testing and studying that I've personally done in the martial arts. I think that was a pretty decent movie. There's a lot of comments, if you look it up, that people loved it. I loved it. I thought it was pretty good. Having done a lot of the research that I've done personally, I think that some of the fantastical parts of it were a little silly, but I did expect it. And I don't know that it's necessarily like a piece of propaganda of some kind. It is just fun. And I think if you just take it as fun, you're going to enjoy it, which is what you should do just for the martial arts involved. There are some pretty good martial arts with some pretty good displays of skill and things. And there's some neat scenes where he's just, Beidal is just beating the crap out of people. And it's just kind of, if you like that kind of movie, like a John Wick type thing, you're going to love this. And he's often just shown like tattered dogi, just looks like Goku, and they obviously took some inspiration for some of that stuff too. Okay. All right. As far as the historical accuracy versus the fantasy, they got the big broad strokes right? They got the big broad strokes, setting things up from the discrimination to Koreans, his angst for, trying to be in their Air Force and stuff and it not working out, his training in the mountains, Some of the duels, I mean, he did do a more than one, from what I understand, a 100-man, 200-man kumite, which is a fight. And they were like full rounds, full contact sort of things like that. And he wound up doing one, if I remember right, as an older individual. And eventually the other people just quit fighting him because they were like, man, we don't want to keep going. So, the guy did have some legit skill historically. I guess anecdotally, really, but that's there. There are some fantastical or dramatized mythology things, like a lot of the mountain training itself. The sequences are kind of nuts. The fights with the yakuza and the samurai things, I don't think that happened. And then there's a lot of just mysticism, mystical figure-ishness around him that is, obvious that you need it for a movie like this. You just need that. And I think the filmmakers would do that because, we live in an age of Marvel movies and things like that, and they're using a real life person to sort of inspire this character, and that's pretty cool. And it's pretty cool for that to have been done from a karate man, and I respect that, and I think that's neat. And that's largely where I think the movie succeeds. It's inspiring. I watched it and I wanted to go train. I watched it. I wanted to go do some sparring. It was neat. I think there's some parallels between this podcast, this website, and the movie, and which is why I even bring it up here. And I think it's worth some of your time. There's some things you can reflect on, the value of discipline, dedication, and mental fortitude. Specifically, if you watch the training that he did and know that is roughly based on real life events, that he did do that. He did go to the mountains and train by himself for a year. He wanted to do 3, I think. And he did more than one. Like the movie shows, like one time he did it more than once. The fights, fighting many people and just having the fortitude to do that takes training. Overcoming challenges and just having the character to turn into the person that he did and not fall victim to just the negativity and just falling victim to the challenges. I think there's a lot of warrior mindset correlation there that we can draw. And again, it's not a movie you look to for a blueprint. It's a movie you look to for inspiration. And it's why I watch Rocky. It's why I watch, some of those things. Just it's why I study these people. It really, I am not him. I've done some harsh training through my martial arts journey, and I think that it's a thing that is worthy of study, and I think that it's something that you could look into. There's a thing called a Shugyo, and it can be a lot of things. I use it every once in a while myself personally, where you'll train really intensely for up to, an hour minimum, maybe 3 to 4 hours, and to just get yourself to that point of exhaustion, or that point of where you are really legitimately tapping into your mental and spiritual fortitude, to begin to test to see where you are. And this is sort of like that David Goggins thing, where a lot of folks misunderstand that. I think they, love him or hate him. And I do have a love-hate relationship with someone like Goggins. And that is that I think sometimes it's too far, because it just comes off as performative. It just comes off as content, which is meh. But I think the reality of expanding your abilities, or raising your threshold for what you can sort of withstand, is important. And if you are training it, you can train it slowly, as opposed to having to sort of overcome some giant life event or some big loss or some big hurdle in your life, and overcoming that is very painful, and you can do little things. I was having a conversation with my sensei just, and whenever you're watching this, but just yesterday before I recorded it, we were talking about dealing with things, and we have a closer to him, but we have a shared friend in the martial arts world. They lost their entire dojo to a fire, and they lost years of history and things like that. It really messed them up, changed the course of the business. And we were discussing one of the owners. They just kind of were very calm and dealing with it and looking at next steps of dealing with the insurance and stuff like that. And he told me a story of and I don't think I've ever seen it, but he was talking about a Super Bowl commercial where it's like a cowboy in a truck pulling a trailer full of horses. Like, I think it's Budweiser. He said it was like Clydesdale horses, and the truck gets stuck. And he just kind of calmly gets out, puts on his cowboy hat, leads the horses out, hooks them up to the truck, pulls the truck out, puts them back in, and drives away. And it was like, sometimes you just have to cowboy up and deal with your issues in the world. And we should all have that, cowboy putting on his hat mentality and just getting it done, whatever it takes, sort of a mentality. And I think that's in the movie. I think a lot of the things that David Goggins would teach you through the things he's saying parallel that. And that is the training yourself slowly over time by doing hard things, so that when a real life difficult thing happens in your life, you're able to deal with it and overcome it without falling to pieces. And I think that's important. I think that's important in life. And, we often look at older people who've experienced more in our lives, and we're like, man, they're just dealing with things better. It's because they've seen a lot. You can train that. You can train that by using this approach, using that Goggins approach, this Shugyo, this, Mas Oyama training in the mountains approach. You don't have to go that extreme. You don't have to run 100-mile race. You don't have to go live in the mountains for a year. You can do things, and I think that's important. I think it's important for you as a person who cares about this sort of thing. As if you are trying to build your warrior mindset, I think it's important. And this is a tool that you could use to do that. That's what this movie sort of drew me into thinking and feeling, and I wanted to share that with you. Not a super long episode, but maybe you have a little fun with it. All right? Thank you for listening. Go check out the movie. Come back. Let me know what you thought. Let me know your favorite scene. Let me know if it inspired you. Let me know if you thought it was cray-cray and you didn't enjoy it. All right? So until we find something else cool to talk about, go check it out.